Hello, welcome to the Awaken the Matriarch podcast. I am so excited that you're here, that we are here, and it is the first episode of this new podcast that I've decided to put out into the world because I am committed to supporting you in awakening the matriarch within so that you can create the life and business that you are truly meant to live, while honoring your seasons and rhythms in womanhood and motherhood. I am your host, Melissa Colleret. I'm a transformative. Shit. Let's do that again. I don't know if I'm going to edit that part out or if I'm just going to leave it in, but this is take 3 of recording this first episode. And you know what? I like to keep things real, so I might just leave it in. I'm Melissa Colleret. Yes, I am. And I'm your host. I'm a transformational coach for women. I'm also a published author of a book called Aspiring Mama. And I'm a proud mom to a 4-year-old, my daughter, Alicia Rose. She is the love of my life, the light in my sky. And one of the reasons that I am sitting here today recording this episode for you, because she guided me to awaken the matriarch within myself and set me on this path to supporting women and doing the same long before she was ever even conceived. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Whether you are sitting at home making dinner or walking your dog on a beautiful sunny day or maybe even a rainy day, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chime in today. And I promise you that if you listen to the end, you will get something powerful out of today's episode. And today could literally be a defining moment in your life where you make the decision to make a change, where you decide that you are going to take your first step towards unleashing the wild, powerful woman within, also known as your inner matriarch. So let's dive in. There's a lot I want to cover today, but there's a lot more to cover in many other episodes. So we got to get this first one out there so that we can start our journey together and then grow this incredible, life-changing experience as a team. And I am truly honored to be your guide on this journey. Now, I truly believe that women can change the world. And I believe that there is a huge opportunity for women to connect to what they really want and start bridging the gap between where they currently find themselves to where they wish to be, and doing so in such a way that they get to reclaim their sovereignty and show up in the world as their most uplifted, happy, healthy, wealthy selves in order to leave their mark. Because I think that women need to step up. I know I need to step up. I'm here. This is part of one of my steps I'm taking, showing up more visibly and providing more value for my current audience and a growing audience that I hope to attract into my world. And also saying yes to this mission of supporting women to awaken the matriarch within. But I believe that women have something inside of them that is uniquely theirs to bring out into the world. And one of those things is themselves. One of those things is their most authentic selves, and bring that out. And there's going to be a lot of shit we need to break down in order for that to happen. But I promise you that the breakthrough is so much better and so worth whatever needs to break down in order to make room for yourself. Now, I need to tell you a little bit about why I'm sitting here today recording this episode so that you get a better sense of who I am, because we're going to get to know each other. And I truly hope that you reach out to me and send in some of your questions. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But why are we here? Why am I supporting women and awakening the matriarch within? And how did I do that myself? Now, I'm going to try to give you the Cliff Notes version. We'll have many episodes where we get to learn more about one another, and I'll share a lot of random things about myself that might be too TMI sometimes, but will definitely support you on your journey, because in order to transform your life, like, things will get a little bit wild inside and out, and that's okay. All right. So my journey to awakening the matriarch within really started when I fully committed to becoming the mother that I wish to be. My greatest dream in my life was to become a mom in the sense of having children. If you've read my book, Aspiring Mama, or when you do, you will learn that one of the key tenets of my philosophy is that there are many ways to become and be a mother in your lifetime. And there will be seasons in motherhood. And one way you can become a mother is through having children. That is, one of the ways we associate being a mom most. But it's far from being the only way to express your motherly essence in the world. It took me a long time to learn that myself, but it is so powerful when you connect to that, because then you start seeing that your external circumstances do not prevent you from expressing that powerful motherly energy that is inside of you that is wanting to come out into the world. Now, it also doesn't mean that you overlook how you are most truly called to becoming a mother, whether that involves having children or not. That is one of our privileges in our current era that we live in, is that as women, at least here in North America, we have more of a voice with regards to whether or not we actually want to have children. And I knew from a very young age that I did want to have kids. And it took me a long time to get there. I got pregnant when I was 34, had my daughter, Alicia Rose, at 35, in the heart of that thing called the global pandemic. And my matriarch journey really began when I just committed to becoming the mother I wanted to be, long before that was even a guarantee. I was single at the time when I really stepped authentically onto that journey and claimed that desire for myself and started acting as the mother I wanted to be in my life as it was at the time, and on my way to calling in my daughter's father. And pregnancy is a transformative, magical experience. It was, at least for me. Bringing my daughter into the world was such an incredible gift. And I was changing, because as you bring a newborn into the world, you too are newly born. And I was at peace with the life I had created and lived before welcoming my daughter. But I also needed to close that chapter of my life before having my daughter, and the life that was now becoming that was now new, who I was, who did I truly want to be? Because it's one thing to envision and to think and manifest and all that, but the experience of your vision into reality creates certain shifts. It's like you might dream of going to Paris and seeing the Eiffel Tower, but once you're standing there, it's a very different experience. I've actually never been there yet, but one day I'll be able to speak from experience around that. But having visited other landmarks, I know that the idea versus the experiences are two very different things. And then what truly started going even deeper into this journey of awakening my own sovereignty, reclaiming my power, was when the relationship with my daughter's father and I started to break down. And in fact, there was this crevice, this full break that happened in November of 2020, when my daughter was just about to be 6 months old. And we never recovered from that, even though I spent about a year or so trying to see if we could change things, because I wanted to make sure that this challenge in our relationship wasn't due to the challenges that can come from welcoming a child into your family, not to mention a global pandemic. There was also deaths in my daughter's father's family at the time, illness. There was so much going on. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't because of that. Needless to say, that breakdown in the relationship, also within myself, set me on a journey of reconnecting to who I really wanted to be, which also coincided with the wrapping up of my maternity leave. I had took almost a whole year off after having my daughter, and I was coming back to coaching with a new perspective. I knew that motherhood would change the way I wanted to show up into the world and how I wanted to work. And I had done some preparation for it, but near the end of my mat leave in February of 2021, I was really ready to take on some new clients, but from a different perspective. And I needed some support because I felt different, and I felt really challenged by reigniting my business as a mom, but also navigating these challenges in my relationship that I had hoped would be a relationship that would last forever, And so I worked with coaches, and I remember a conversation with a coach named David Foster. He's awesome. He wrote a book called Where's Dad? And that he sent to me at the most pivotal time. It was so crazy. It's like you know, when a teacher shows up in your life, when someone shows up in your life, I truly believe it's divinely guided. It was crazy that David had reached out to me when he did. We had met years prior at a coaching conference in London, and he had just like checked up on me on Facebook randomly, sent me his book that he had recently published called Where's Dad, which spoke very clearly to the struggles I was experiencing in my relationship. And then on a coaching call with him, I was telling him how I felt that I was out of my power. I didn't have my power. He's like, wait a second, your power didn't go anywhere. Like it's still inside of you. You have to find a way to just reclaim it. It's not outside of yourself, it's inside of you. And I want you to hear that because you might feel powerless in your life right now, or you might at some point be at a crossroads where you feel that things are so hard and that you just don't know how you're going to figure things out. It's not outside of you. It really is inside of you that you get to cultivate a change. Now, external factors can really help, of course, but your power is never gone. No one can take it from you. It might feel like that, but they can't because your true sovereignty, your true power, that matriarch within you, like no one can take her. No one. They can try to silence you. They can slap you in the face, but she's still in there. And that's who we want to awaken here today and in the coming episodes. I also did work to explore what did it even mean to be a sovereign being? I felt that I had been a pretty strong woman up until that point, that was pretty confident and knew who I was and showed up in the world powerfully. But whoa, did I not see how easily I could fall into codependent tendencies or people pleasing tendencies, and how I could really shift from being confident to really questioning even if I was worth being on this planet. Like that is how intense it got for me when things were really bad. I could close my bathroom door and go cry in the bathtub while my daughter was sleeping in her crib and her father was maybe on the computer doing something. I was in a really rough spot for a period of time. But in doing this work, I had to muster the courage of getting really honest with myself about what was happening in my life, what were the facts, and how did I feel about those facts, and also do the work to transform myself such that I could get really clear about who I wanted to become, who was I committed to showing up as in the world, not only for my daughter, but also for myself. Now, on really hard days, my daughter was my greatest source of motivation to show up. On good days, I was like, I'm doing this for me. Like, I can do this. But it's really great when you have this external driving force in those moments where you are so in your way that you don't see your light. And so I got really clear about what I wanted, who I wanted to become. I did a lot of trauma work and reconnected to my values, my vision, my goals, and poured my heart and soul into a core project which was writing my book Aspiring Mama, which I kind of detoured at some point, wrote a different manuscript, wrote that manuscript, which is not yet published, put it to the side, went back to Aspiring Mama. I poured my heart and energy into a project that would transform me and catalyze me into action, into becoming that version of myself that I envisioned. And one of the things that had to happen when I initiated that process was end the relationship that I had created with my daughter's father. Now, it was something that I think we kind of came to mutually. I might have instigated it a little bit, but it wasn't like a blind side. Like it was very evident that things weren't working in our relationship. We had some conversations about it, and we made that decision. It was whenever the spring equinox was in 2022. And that was a defining moment in my life. And if you're someone who's been through separation or divorce, you know what I'm talking about. I don't wish that on anybody, like no. However, it might happen. And I also know that when a relationship ends, it doesn't mean that the relationship failed. It could, maybe to a certain degree, but you can also see it as a teacher. And I want to start this off by saying that I'm so deeply grateful for my daughter's father. I truly believe that we came together for a divine reason. We created the most incredible human being together out of the love that we had for one another. And he has been one of my greatest teachers. And I can't take words from his mouth, but I have a feeling I might have taught him a few things too. But he has been such catalyst for me to step up, to mature, and to really rise up in moments when I wanted to give up. And I hope one day I can tell him that, and that we can get to a place where there is just peace and understanding around our journey. We're not there yet, but we're doing much better than we were even just a year ago or even a few months ago. Needless to say, separating from my daughter's father as a new mom, our daughter wasn't even yet 2 years old, and having to start fresh, like real fresh. I had to rebuild my life from scratch. Okay. We didn't have formal childcare. We were living in his home. I was running my coaching business, but it wasn't going great by any means. Coaching clients, like while Alicia was napping or when her father could watch our child, which I'm not going to get into that description yet, but maybe one day we'll talk more about it. Down to like buying new cutlery. I had to find a home, find childcare, figure things out because I knew that I would be a solo mom for a few months in just a short while because my daughter's father works abroad for a few months out of the year, most years. And I decided I had to figure it out. Even though there was moments of intense anxiety and fear and depressive tendencies, suicidal ideation, all that fun stuff. I don't want to make light of those topics. So if you are facing that right now, please get support. But I'm at a place in my life now where I can have so much love and compassion for the hardships that were part of the journey to like facing the darkness to awaken my light and crank it all the way up because I'm here to shine, baby, and I hope that you are too. So if you're going through a hard time right now, if I make jokes along the way, please know that it is not to belittle the challenges you might be facing, but rather maybe to keep the conversation flowing. And there will be times where we dive more deeply into some of these topics. And if you have any questions around them, I will gladly address them on future episodes. So I just want to put that little segue here. So one of the first things I had to do after we found our home, because there were some priorities that needed to happen. You know, I couldn't do it all at once. Okay. And if you're wanting to make a change in your life and you're like, I got to figure it all out. Well, you can't figure it all out at once. You got to really prioritize and see, well, what's most important? What do I need to create in order for my nervous system to feel safe or maybe to even be physically and emotionally safe? What does my family need? And for us, we needed a home. That was number one. And in order for me to find a home, I need to find reliable childcare so that I could also provide and work more consistently because that wasn't really happening because my daughter's father was the primary breadwinner for the period of time that I was on maternity leave. And even in the first or leading up to our split, you know, my contribution was minimal financially. And I had to turn that around because it was going to be on me. I had to put a roof over our heads. I had to find that childcare, and I did. And I needed to do that to then have the space to reawaken that creativity and rebuild my business. Now, for some reason during that time, writing Aspiring Mama felt like a good idea. And I'm so glad I did because writing a book is a huge undertaking, but it was one of those things that it was like, I have to do this. I have to write the book for the woman out there who dreams of becoming a mom, but that's being told not to worry about it, yet that she's secretly worried and doesn't know who to turn to. So this was my gift to her, in a way, was a gift to the version of me that needed guidance like 5 years prior. And within that, my personal story kind of came through because that kind of happens. And I do think it's important for women to own their stories for themselves and then also have the courage to share it because then you can change it and you can control the narrative and then you become a whole different person. I'm not the same woman I was when I wrote that book. Needless to say, continuing on the Awakening the Matriarch Within story, I promise we are getting there. I decided to revamp my business. And I knew I was coming up to almost 10 years of being coach. Actually, March of 2025, next month, at the time of this recording, will mark officially 10 years of launching my coaching business, which is crazy to think because I feel like I'm just getting started. I really am. But I knew that that was coming up. I wanted to change my offerings, change how I showed up as a coach. And whenever you go through a life defining moment and you are the face of your business, I do believe that it's inevitable that things change, because if the world changes, you might have to change your offerings. And if you change your world, if you change yourself, then obviously what you offer will have to change, unless it's a product that isn't necessarily connected to your identity or your emotions. I don't sell like cups. I sell transformative experiences for women. And needless to say, I was walking along the bike path not too far from here after we had moved into this home where my daughter and I now live. And it was raining. It was early May. I think it was the 4th of May. I actually checked my calendar before recording this today. And it was raining. I was walking my dog. And I had just signed one of the temporary co-parenting agreements with my daughter's father, which was very emotionally charged times, big decisions you need to take, heavy negotiations, legal proceedings aren't necessary, particularly through separation, divorce, and co-parenting agreements, I feel aren't designed to bring out the best in people. So it can be a tense time, but we had signed one. So that was like a huge step. And I was pretty emotional, but as I was walking, I was also connecting to the work I wanted to do in the world. And it was like this instant download. And Matriarch just like came to me. I had been doing work and reviewing what are the tools and strategies and patterns I had supported my clients into, in using or breaking through in their lives in order to generate the results that they desired, often career changes, starting businesses, life changes, health enhancements. And all of that came together, but with this optic of awakening the matriarch within, of supporting women to step into their sovereignty, to reclaim their power, to share their gifts, and very importantly, also create lives and businesses that were in alignment with their true nature and that honored the season that they were in their life, instead of playing this game where you're supposed to pretend that you don't have your period on a Monday morning before a big meeting, or that you just had a child like 3 months ago, or if you live in the US, like 6 weeks ago, because there's no maternity leave, and that's absolutely insane. Or you're supposed to do as if it's not the depths of winter when you live in a part of the world where it's minus 40 for a couple months of the year, or that there's been a major change in your life. I was so done with this oversight that the patriarchal system I had been brought into had conditioned me to think was the way to do things. I was supposed to fit into this model of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and not even speak of what might be going on inside and around me as a woman and now as a mother. And that was something I just no longer wanted to be a stand for. And I wanted to support women in changing the script, changing the game, to stop playing this game where you can be like the boys, because that's how I was raised. It was like, you can dream big. I'm so grateful for all the opportunities I was raised with. But it was this kind of idea that like you can be whatever you want to be, do whatever you want to do. But there were some unsaid rules to that. It was like, yeah, you can do that, but as long as it fits within this mold that we've designed. And the mold was kind of like, do as well as the men, within a system that wasn't even designed for their thriving either. Like, don't like this. I'm targeting more women here as we speak, but there's so much I have to say on how the patriarchy has, like messed up our men. And I know that there's incredible men doing work out there to support men in restoring their true nature as well. There's so many parallels between men and women and our needs to restore harmony within ourselves. I just feel called to doing it more specifically for women, knowing that there might be a guy listening here, and hi, I'm so happy you're here. So that being said, I created the Matriarch program and started offering it to amazing women, supporting them when they were at a crossroads, personally and professionally, helping them really take their lives back so that they could reconnect to who they wanted to be and put that in place through aligned action. And part of the framework is really doing kind of this overarching overview of what you want from your life, getting really clear about where you are by assessing like what's actually going on in your life, whether it's in your relationships, your finances, your health. Like, let's get real about what's happening. Then let's see what you want, and let's recreate who you are in that vision for your life. Who are you really? Let's claim her. Let's become her today. Let's reset the values that you are going to build your life upon. Let's change your beliefs such that you start believing that it's possible, and then start taking action by cultivating habits, practices, and rituals that allow you to be that future version of yourself now. And then from that place, let's go even further by channeling your focus and energy into one core project or goal that will ignite your soul. What's that one thing that you would love to bring out into the world? It could be a small thing, like you may want to take a trip for a month. Or I had one client a few years ago, we worked on her having the best summer ever. That was the theme we worked on. Whereas another might be she wants to launch her business. I had one of the women in our Matriarch program in the second cohort in the fall leave her job that she had held in corporate for 10 years to start her real estate business. And another client of mine that I had worked with 5 years prior, when I helped her leave corporate and start her coaching business, expressed her desire to start a family, but didn't know how to bridge the gap when she didn't even have a spouse in sight. And what I was there to support her in noticing was that even though she was often saying, well, I want to do this professionally, when she was relaxed and I was guiding her through visualizations, what was coming through was her desire for partnership and family. And so we helped her bridge that gap. And she's the mother to this beautiful girl now that has attended several of our matriarch coaching calls, which has been such a privilege to have her on there. So I created this program. It was awesome, and it still is, and it's continuously evolving. And there's been ups and downs since that time. I've restabilized after really completing that chapter of what I guess, separation and rebuilding my life. And that coincided with me turning 40 at the end of 2024. So within these ups and downs, about to turn 40, I had this moment where I was questioning quite a few things in my life. And I wasn't even sure if continuing down the coaching path was what I was meant to do. And I needed to kind of challenge that because I was coming up to 10 years. I felt that I hadn't achieved all that I wanted. But I was feeling maybe a bit discouraged about the results or lack thereof, if I'm being honest. And I went through this period of really questioning whether or not building Matriarch was the right thing to do. And so I stepped aside. I even accepted a contract in corporate, which I thought could be an interesting thing to see if I wanted to get back into, only to realize that no. I was reminded of why I'm here and why the work that I do not only is something that I really love, but that I feel I have a duty and a responsibility to do in order to make my greatest impact in the world. I feel I've been gifted certain skills and talents that I've built upon, but interests and desires and abilities to hold space and help people through the transformations that I just can't deny, and that I've also loved to expand upon over the years. I still continuously invest in my personal and professional growth in order to show up more powerfully as a coach, as a woman, as a mother, as a partner. And so I pressed the reset button on my own life, and specifically on my professional life, and recommitted to my mission to awakening the matriarch within women and to facilitate that process. And that is why I'm here today, because I knew that if I was going to take this seriously, not only did I have to commit in the moment, I had to have a long-term commitment. And I remember telling, I think it was a couple of the ladies from the matriarch community, that I was in the game for the long haul. But I had questioned that. And if you've been committed to anything in your life, whether it's a marriage or a career, or a hobby, there might be moments where you question your commitment. And we sometimes feel bad about doing that. But on the contrary, I think it's a great opportunity for you to reconnect to why you started in the first place and also reset the vision that is pulling you forward and the purpose that is driving you to shift things that need to shift because we continuously expand and grow and learn, and we need to question in order to take the next step. At least that's part of my belief. So I'm actually really grateful that I had this reevaluation process because it kicked me back into gear and reset my commitment and my vision to support women in the world through this work and in turn create this podcast because I knew that in order to grow this movement, I had to show up more powerfully. I had to provide more value. I had to connect with my existing audience and also people I have not yet met that need the work that I have been asked to do. And so if you're here today, there's probably a reason for it. Maybe I'm here to trigger something in you. By the way, triggers are our teachers. I've often hired coaches that pissed me off because they awaken a part of me that I didn't like to look at. And often what we don't want to look at is actually where we need to go. Or I may inspire you to make a change today that will alter the course of your life. And if you think you need to do a 360 in your life, chances are all you need is a 1-degree shift to alter the course of your life. You can look this up, but if you look at the idea that a plane, if it is to change its trajectory by 1 degree, will land in a completely different spot than it was supposed to. So if you take even one thing from today, or one thing from the book you're currently reading or will read, or the conversation you have with your therapist or coach or mentor, you could change your life today because of it. You will land somewhere completely different. And that's amazing because if you were supposed to land in the middle of the Pacific, but you end up in Maui, then that is something to celebrate. At least I think so. So I've reconnected to my inner matriarch and I'm still doing work on it. I'm still figuring this out. And I'm going to encourage you to download a free guide I've created for you shortly. And one of the exercises in that guide will be to connect to what it means to you. What does it mean to be a matriarch and awaken that? To me, it means sovereignty and power. And most importantly, what that means to me is showing up as the version of myself that I feel I am meant to be, living true to who I am, living into this potential that I connect to, and enjoying my life, being grounded, but also being fully alive. Because I don't want this life to go by and feel like I didn't give it my all. Because although I believe in reincarnation, I don't know if I'm going to have vivid memories of this life. It'll probably be in my next body to a certain degree. But right now, here I am in this sexy ass body as a 40-year-old woman living in my small hometown, an hour north of Montreal, 5 minutes away from my parents and my sister. And I have the chance to live this life. And I feel at 40, I am just getting started. And I think we all are. We are at a turning point in the world. I feel the pandemic was a huge reset button. There's been so much stuff. And one thing you'll need to know about this podcast, I won't dive too much into politics because that is not my forte. And I know there's others that are way better equipped to talk to you about that. I will weave in spiritual concepts and nature's wisdom, cyclical living, intuition, practical tips, tools, and strategies that I've accumulated and continue to learn through the world of personal growth, spirituality, business, womanhood, motherhood, etc. So with that being said, here we are, Awaken the Matriarch podcast, episode 1. My mission is to support you to awaken the matriarch within and to start by connecting to what that might mean to you, because what it means to me might be different for you. The same way that how one person defines being vibrantly healthy will look different from one person to the other. If we had a UFC fighter next to me and a gymnast, their definition of health is different. Someone at 20 versus 80 has different priorities and values that guide how they live into their definition of what it means to be healthy. The same way for you, what it means to live into being your own matriarch, the matriarch of your life will be different whether you're 30, 50, 60, 70. And my goal is to make the 90-year-old version of you proud once you get there. So we're going to tap into your inner wise woman and see how she wants you to live your life today. What chances does she want you to take? How does she want you to speak up in moments where you otherwise would have stayed silent? What bold moves does she need you to do now because you're able body? And what adventures does she want you to say yes to so that you have amazing stories to tell and wisdom to cultivate from the experience? We're going to explore all of that together. So if you want to awaken the matriarch within, you are in the right place, my friend. And I am so honored to be your guide. And like I said earlier, today can be a defining moment where you make that decision. Even if you don't know what's going to happen next, it starts with you being willing to unleash the wild, powerful woman within and create a life that is in alignment with your soul, with your unique gifts, talents, strengths, and mission in life. Being willing to discover what that is, to create them, and to write your story anew if you want to. And here's how you can get started. First, listening to this today, awesome. Like, celebrate that. That is huge. Second, you can get access to the free guide I've created on the podcast show page, awakenthematriarch.com. You'll be able to get a little recap from today's episode, plus a link that will guide you to a guide where you get to answer 6 journaling prompts that will help you awaken the matriarch inside of you. These are deeply powerful if you really go there. I'll guide you to set up the space, put pen to paper, and see what comes up for you. That's going to be an incredible first step for you to reflect and take in and do something with what you've gathered from this episode, but also from the tools within the guide. And then stick around, subscribe to the show because I'll be releasing episodes weekly. And what you can expect in the coming episodes are practical tips and tools to support you on your matriarch journey. I'll be sharing some insights from the matriarch framework that I teach my clients that you can then apply into your life. I'll also answer questions that I'm frequently asked from my clients or prospective clients that help them on their journey to and through womanhood and motherhood. For example, I was talking with one of my girlfriends, one of my soul sisters. We've been masterminding for almost 8 or 9 years now. And I told her I was creating this podcast episode, and she wanted my input around whether or not she should freeze her eggs. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to create an episode on that. I've had questions around how to start your online business because I run an online business, how to rebuild your life after divorce. I've been through separation. We weren't married, but I rebuilt my life after ending a significant relationship with the father of my daughter. So I've coached some people around that. I've also coached people in creating the relationship that they truly want. And so I'm taking in the questions that I get asked frequently, even if it's around, setting and enforcing boundaries, how to reset your health. We're going to talk about coffee enemas, cold showers, because along the way, I've also healed my body of Crohn's disease, and I have a huge arsenal of tools around health because health is your greatest wealth. And I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the fact that at 25 years old, I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer at an early stage. We were able to get it out and just be done with it pretty quickly. But it was a catalyzing factor in the reason why I stepped onto my soul's path and decided to then go on and open a yoga studio, then leave the yoga studio and start my coaching business. So what was a really challenging moment in my life where I had to face my mortality at a pretty young age also set me on a path to really taking charge of my mental, physical, and spiritual well-being, and then support others in doing the same. So we'll be talking about all sorts of fun things that I put into my life in order to feel great. And how do I also bounce back when things get hard? Because I will share those moments with you. There's been hard times, and I've grown from each and every one of them and transformed them into amazing opportunities to serve and to improve myself and to learn. So we'll talk about all these things. So another thing you can do if you want is to send me any of your questions. You can send an email. Once you go on the show page, awakenthematriarch.com, you can send an email directly from there. You can send me a DM. You can follow me on Instagram. I've got my personal page at Melissa Colleret. And there's also the Awaken the Matriarch Instagram page. Instagram is kind of where I hang out. I know people are telling me I should join TikTok, but let's take it one step at a time, my friend. Let's see what happens. All of these things I'm sharing with you will be linked in the show notes. So, little recap here for you right now. We're going to wrap this up today. And first and foremost, thank you for being here. Thank you for having listened to the show, the episode this far. If you liked it, I don't even know if you can like an episode. I had a podcast like 6 years ago that didn't last very long. So I haven't looked at all the details. I'm going before being fully ready. Okay. Because I want to encourage you to do the same in your life. So like the episode, if that's something you can do on where this episode will live, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Subscribe so that you know when the show is released, the next episode. And then download that guide. Answer the 6 journaling prompts to awaken the matriarch within. That's it. Yeah. Subscribe, leave a review, get the free guide, send your questions. That's the other thing I wanted to remind you of. Yes. Go check the show notes, all the good stuff. I'm so happy that we're here. Again, I'm Melissa Colleret. Thank you for being part of this world. We're starting something really beautiful together. Let's awaken the matriarch within and create something really magical with that energy. And if you love the show, bonus, send it to a friend. And I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful day. Bye.